Good evening. I would like to call this regular governing board meeting of the Lammersville Unified School District Board of Education to order at 7:01. Just a reminder that this meeting is being recorded, so please silence or turn off your cell phones. And at this time, I would like to ask everyone to rise and follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Matthew Balzerini.
Here.
Colin Clements.
Here.
Ann Goodrich.
Here.
Sharon Lampel.
Here.
David Pombo.
Here.
Simran Gunsi.
Absent.
Approval and/or corrections to the agenda.
There are none?
I'll move for approval of the agenda as presented.
Second. Wow, that's wild.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Committee reports. District Advisory Committee.
The committee met on Monday, the 4th, and reviewed the LCAP.
Thank you. District English Language Advisory Committee.
The committee has not met since our last board meeting.
Education Extracurricular Committee.
This committee has not met since our last board meeting.
Facilities. That's me. I just got to bring up my report. The Facilities Committee held two meetings since our last board meeting. Our regularly scheduled meeting on May 17th, where we heard a framework of a possible summer swim program from CSD staff. The committee felt we needed more specific information in order that we could bring forward a possible recommendation to the full board. The committee therefore agreed to hold a special meeting on May 29th to give the CSD staff time to come back with a more detailed proposal, and also to allow committee time to get something to the LUSD board on the agenda for the June 6th meeting. At the May 29th meeting, the committee felt that the CSD brought back what still lacked the desired specificity and directed LUSD staff to come up with an action item based on the specifics from the conversation at the May 29th meeting that could be placed on the agenda of the LUSD meeting of June 6th. That item has been placed on the agenda. Policy Committee.
Nothing to report.
Safety Committee.
Nothing to report.
And Wellness Committee, we have not had a Wellness Committee meeting since our last board meeting, but we did have the committee staff, or the committee participated in character counts training 2 days last week. And moving on to governing board reports. Trustee Goodrich.
I attended the Bethany Elementary promotion ceremony on May 25th. It was a well organized and very celebratory event. The students were in fine form. I was impressed with the number of students who received the presidential academic awards and who had placed with high honors. There were many, the gym was filled to capacity, and it was a wonderful event. I also attended the Mountain House High School graduation with all of you, and that was a wonderful event as well. The students just continue to amaze and impress with their skills and abilities. So that was all.
Thank you. Trustee Clements.
Since the last board meeting, I attended the Lammersville promotion ceremonies. I thought they did a great job, and it was great to be able to visit Lammersville Elementary. With all of my peers, I did attend Mountain House High School graduation, and one of the greatest honors of my board career was to be able to shake my son's hand as he graduated. Thank you for giving me that opportunity. I did attend briefly Senior Sunset as well as sober graduation. I helped out a little bit for about an hour and a half for sober grad. And of course, I attended the 2 facilities committee meetings with President Pombo and Assistant Superintendent Harrison. That is all I have to report.
Thank you. Trustee Belzerini.
I attended, excuse me, Wickland's promotion. Principal Gonzalez and staff have it down to a science. Did a really good job, very respectful crowd. Real quiet this year. It's kind of different. He warned me too. It's a little bit different this year. So, and also was at the high school, which I'm sure is my peers up here is a huge honor to be there. I'm just very proud of the work that we've done over. I've been on the board going over about 12 years now, so it's been very rewarding. So I'm glad to see that. California School Board Associations keep me busy. I'm on the legislative committee. We've been real busy dealing with lots and lots of bills that are coming down the pipe regarding education.
Thank you. Trustee Lampel.
On May 19th, along with 2 of my colleagues up here, I attended the all-school trivia battle. I'm not very good at trivia, but I'm very good at silent and live auctions. We had a lot of fun that evening. I attended the Cuesta 8th grade promotion. It was well organized and well attended. The 6th grade teachers and Principal Sharp did an outstanding job. And also, with all of my colleagues, attended the high school graduation, which was done in excellent school spirit as usual. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. I had the pleasure of witnessing Mustangs play in the second round of the playoffs at Mountain House High School. Unfortunately, it was to be their last game of a great season. Very proud of our young men. I also participated in the 2 aforementioned facilities committee meetings. I went to the LUSD staff end of the year barbecue at the high school. It was well attended, and it was nice to join staff in celebrating the end of another successful school year. My family, along with trustees Lampel and Goodrich, participated in the aforementioned trivia night. I thought it was a lot of fun. I, along with my wife and kids, attended the kindergarten graduation and end of the year barbecue at Lammersville Elementary, always a good time. I had the honor of representing the LUSD board at the Altamont 8th grade promotion, and the room was filled with Panther pride, as our trustee principal likes to say. I, along with the entire board, participated in the Mountain House High School graduation, and I, too, am very proud to be part of what's becoming a great tradition over there. I, along with many of the district staff, spent two days last week in character counts training. This training will allow staff to take these lessons back to their sites in order to strengthen our commitment to teaching students the importance of character. Earlier today, I participated in the Lammersville Unified School District Education Specifications meeting along with teachers, administrators, and parents from throughout the district. I felt it was a productive meeting and with a good exchange of ideas. And that concludes my report. Receiving of public comments. The board shall give members of the public an opportunity to address the board either before or during the board's consideration of each agenda item. At a time so designated on the agenda, members of the public may bring before the board matters that are not listed on the agenda of a regular meeting. The board may refer such a matter to the superintendent or designee or take it under advisement, but shall not take action at that time. The board may place the matter on the agenda of a subsequent meeting for discussion or action. Individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda or non-agenda item. The board shall limit total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. I see no blue cards at this time, so we will.
Oh, public comment.
Oh.
Is there a formal way that we want?
There are.
First time attending, okay.
There are blue cards back there. If you would like to address the board on something that's not on the agenda, you can come forward now. If it's an agenda item, you can fill the card out and give it to the ladies over here to my left and speak.
Is it okay if I speak now? I don't see it on the agenda.
Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. This is my first time attending a school board meeting. My name is Forum Patel. Been living in Mountain House for almost 3 years, and I guess it's a question or a comment or a proposal. The issue about the swimming pool with the CSD in our school district.
That is an agendized
it?
item, so if you would kindly fill out the paper and
Submit it.
give it to the ladies over here, we
Okay.
will let you know when the appropriate time for comment on that item is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Consent items for consideration. Governing Board meeting minutes of the regular meeting of May 16th, ratification of contracts under $25,000, ratification of 2017-2018 hires, ratification of 2018-2019 hires, ratification of resignations, ratification of retirements, 2018-2019 fundraisers, acceptance of donations of Mountain House ASB, $180 from Your Cause, $91.87 from Cyber Grants, $255 from Cyber Grants, $400 from Your Cause Cimitech, Wickland School, $500 from Mr. and Mrs. Mohammed, and $1,400 from Mirage Khan. Also, the approval of the ASB incentive purchase exceeding $200.
Move to approve consent?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Trustee
If I
Lampel?
may, and I would like to, I'm very proud to welcome the following new employees to our Lammersville family. Tirza Stenner, library technician. Daniel Andrade, music and band teacher. Natalie Benoit, special education aide. Patricia Cornejo, food service worker. Ma Deborah Gerania, K-8 food service lead. Tristan Jones, self-contained classroom teacher. Jessica Libby, high school vice principal. Claudia Lopez, school psychologist. Erica Pitney, self-contained classroom teacher. Christina Teese, food service worker. And Christina Macalino, K-8 vice principal. Welcome to all those new folks.
Welcome. Item 9, District Administrator Reports, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Nicholas?
I just have one brief item from the San Joaquin County SELPA periodical. We had one of our teachers honored and recognized, Renu Singh, who is a 4th and 5th grade teacher here in the district. She did an application project related to a STEM project related to Levi Stadium, where the 49ers play. And the kids got to do a field trip over there to a football-themed learning platform in which they did a sports circuit to promote health and fitness, and also did some technology and hands-on materials to what is, I believe, and Mr. Balzerini, you correct me if I'm wrong, the most high-tech stadium in the NFL. Is that
I
correct?
believe it is.
So congratulations to her.
Wow, awesome.
Wonderful.
Good stuff.
That's my report.
Item B, District and Maintenance Operations Report. Mr. LeGrand.
Mr. Harrison is going to speak for him.
Good evening, Board President Pombo, trustees, Dr. Nicholas. Jimmy could not be here tonight. Summer cleaning has started at all sites. He attended the district radio systems with me, possible new vendor on Thursday. He held a staff meeting for custodians at the high school on Wednesday, the 30th. He had a site walk at Hanson with Corinne and Bernie on Thursday to plan for the food services at the site. He walked the NPR rooms at Cuesta, Altamont, Bethany, Wickland, and Lammersville with a camera vendor on Monday to see about adding an additional camera to those spaces. He met with the Lammersville principal and me on Tuesday to talk about summer maintenance and plans and needs for the school site. He met with the Bethany principal on Tuesday to select new flooring material for the replacement, the carpet replacement going on there. He walked the high school with Sean and Joel and camera vendor on Tuesday to look at strategic camera replacement and upgrades to the high school campus. They also had a short training on the new camera system that is in place. He attended the punch list walk this morning with Wes and Ben for the 3 new buildings at the high school. He attended the construction meeting at Hanson this afternoon. Upcoming items, he's meeting with the grounds vendor on Tuesday with me to discuss challenges and a new contract. He has a meeting with the HVAC vendor on Wednesday to discuss adjusting our HVAC PM schedule. He has interviews next week for the M&O supervisory positions. Any questions?
We always comment on his tie, so I'll just say nice tie.
And I do not have the score.
I don't think, from what I just saw, I don't think I won it.
Thank you, Assistant Superintendent, or Associate Superintendent Harrison. Item C, Mountain House High School Alternative Education Pathways. Assistant Superintendent Sherburne.
Good evening, trustees, President Pombo, Superintendent Nicholas. It is my pleasure to be here tonight to introduce Karen Perez, who is the coordinator of our alternative, that's hard to say, our alternative pathway program over at the high school. She has served in a dual capacity this year as the coordinator and as the teacher, so simultaneously working with students and trying to grow the program at the same time, and we've had a great deal of success. So I'm going to allow her to come up and briefly overview the options that are available within the alternative education pathway at the high school and share a little bit about how the program has grown and the successes that we've seen.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for allowing me a few minutes to talk about the alternative ed programs at Mountain House High School and in our district. I'm just going to quickly overview the 3 programs that we offer. I think you guys know a lot about them, but then I'm going to focus mostly on our credit recovery program and its effectiveness. So why alternative ed at Mountain House High School? It allows students to have a personalized education plan while still maintaining access to a comprehensive high school campus. In most alternative ed sites, their students are removed from a comprehensive high school and not allowed to participate in sports, extracurricular activities, field trips. They lose friendships. It affects their social and emotional well-being. But in Lammersville and at our high school, students are allowed access to remain on the main campus, which is very good. They have access to college and career counseling and just access to the general high school campus during school hours. So the 3 options that we currently offer for high school students is our online pathway program, and then we have a hybrid program and the alt-ed credit recovery. The online pathway is an independent study option for students that prefer to take all of their courses online. So students meet with a teacher regularly to check in. They meet with a teacher to take tests. The tests are proctored. The students in this pathway are generally on a 4-year UC or CSU college pathway. The courses are rigorous. They're UC and CSU approved. There's a lot of honors courses and AP courses available, and students have support from our on-campus teachers to be successful in those classes. A good thing for our district for these programs is that we've been able to recapture some ADA for students that were previously homeschooled or students that were doing other online charter high schools. We have new students to our district that when they heard that we had this option available, they came back because they're able to participate in our sports and have access to a high school campus. The second one that we're starting to grow more this coming school year and that we did a little bit of last school year, the 2017-2018, is the online hybrid program and the on-campus hybrid. So in the online hybrid, students are taking at least 4 classes online, and they could take up to 3 on campus. Our ADA is collected through the Independent Study Master Agreement and for the student taking at least 4 classes online. If students preferred not to take 4 classes online, they could take they take 5 on campus, and we collect our ADA through them being an on-campus student, and then they could take 1 or 2 classes online. Okay, so here's the program I'm most excited about, is our Alt-Ed Credit Recovery Program. So this is our program where students are credit deficient, they're at risk of not graduating high school. We had about 40 students start in this program this year with 2 teachers, and students this year were grades 10 through 12. We just had maybe like 4 10th graders, and the rest were 11th and 12th grade students. They have a separate schedule than our main campus. Weekly progress reports are sent from the teachers to the parents, and they have the ability to return to the main campus once they get back on track with their credits. They have weekly college and career readiness lessons and get social emotional support. In terms of college and career readiness, the teachers provide weekly lessons. They do some career interest surveys, budgeting, job searches, college searches. We did a couple field trips. We went out to Delta College in Stockton, and we went to Las Positas out in Livermore. And then we have some guest speakers come in and talk about a variety of careers. The Job Corps came, military probation officers came and talked about careers in probation. We had ABC NorCal from Livermore came out and talked about their apprenticeship training programs, and just give students, news about things that they could do after high school that's exciting and interesting to them. So here's just some pictures from our field trips. The picture on the left is students at Delta College in their auto repair classes, and then on the right, we're at Las Positas College on a rainy day. So this is a picture. I wanted to show this because Deputy Robinson has really been impactful with our students in terms of just building relationships with them that sometimes were previously like not the best of relationships. So he's come in, he does weekly lessons. He just talks to the students. It's not anything really law enforcement related, but he's talked about his life, his family, his path, his career path, and just really just built the rapport with students. So now that they have like an ally with him and are able to talk to him and approach him, and he's not just like some scary guy with a uniform on. Our teachers also do a lot of virtue education and character education, and just building the rapport with students, I think, is like the biggest asset of the program. Mr. Loya and Mr. Lawson were the 2 teachers this year with our credit recovery students, and they were amazing. So just some statistics I wanted to share. Credits, on average, 12th grade students in Alt-Ed or credit recovery, they earn 41 credits per semester. And prior to entering Alt-Ed, those same 12th grade students were averaging about 19 credits a semester. So they're able to really accelerate, and they have something to look forward to, especially when they're in 12th grade, because they know graduation is right there. So they're really working hard to earn those credits. The other statistic that, like, when I looked at all our data, I was really excited about was behavior. I pulled up all the discipline incidents from prior to when the students entered alternative ed, and there was 215 total discipline incidents with these 12th grade students prior to entering alternative education. And this year, with all those same 12th graders, the total number of discipline incidences was only 15, so a 200 drop. So I think I'm just really excited about that, and I feel like that shows that like what the teachers are doing with their character education and just, building relationships with students and helping students feel successful is really showing their behavior. And then finally, and this is also very exciting, and I agree with what you guys say, it was like an honor to be at graduation this year. So we had 35, within the past 2 years of having our credit recovery program, 35 Lammersville Unified students earned a diploma and graduated high school who would have otherwise dropped out or finished their senior year without earning a diploma. So a lot of these students just came into the program severely credit deficient. Not only that, a lot of students had mental health issues in terms of depression or anxiety that prevented them from attending school on a regular basis. But I think this program has really been successful in building relationships and helping students feel successful. So just some challenges and goals for the future. I think if we were able to expand some career tech opportunities for alt ed students, continue to improve our attendance outcomes, provide more mental health and wraparound counseling services to students in all of our alternative ed programs, so all 3 pathways, because a lot of our students doing purely independent study, those students also have a lot of social anxiety issues that I think they would benefit from more counseling services, and expand alternative education options to our K-8 students as necessary. So I'd like to introduce Mrs. Delaney. She was a parent of one of the students that's been in the alt ed program, and I just want to allow her a chance to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. As she said, my son DeAndre, he started Mountain House when the doors first opened, so he did his 4 years there, and he had some trouble. And, but, you know, through the alt ed program, he matured. He became less resentful of having to do what people told him that he needed to do that he didn't want to do. And I just watched him grow so much. And at graduation, it was like I was happy that he was even there, because I knew that he, you know, at one time we were looking into sending him to, you know, an alternative school off the campus. And for him to be able to graduate with the people that he came in with was a joy. And I think it was hours before graduation, he was so excited. Like I think it finally clicked that I'm graduating and I get to do this. And I'm like, you know, you earned this, you did this. And Mrs. Perez was instrumental in making this happen, because even when I had to be the big bad wolf at home, he would come home and say, Mom, Miss Perez said I can do it. You're being hard on me for no reason. And I'm just like, there is a reason, trust me. So, but he graduated and he has a high school diploma. And I've noticed with other kids that have had to go to other schools, they don't have that type of self-esteem, because they feel like, you know, I was ostracized, I did something wrong, and now I'm being punished. But he was at school with his friends and going on the senior trips, and he really enjoyed this year more than I think he's enjoyed school in a really long time. So I'm grateful. And, you know, whatever that you guys can do to help this program grow, it would be instrumental, because, you know, kids, they find different ways to lose themselves, and they're not always troubled kids, but, you know, growing up is hard. Now that I've grown up, I see how much growing up is hard. And, but, you know, if they can mature in an environment where you have people like Ms. Perez and even the principal who's been there through some things that have gone on, that, you know, that kids just need to know that someone cares about them, because they feel like adults, but they're still children. And it's a balancing act. And I just thank her for just being the greatest teacher in the world. I love her. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much.
What a fabulous testimonial for our program.
Thank you for sharing your story with us. It's, I think I can speak for the whole board. It's very nice to hear success stories coming out of the hard work that our staff does over there at the high school.
Absolutely.
Please let your son know that we're as proud of him as you are. I have one quick question for Ms. Perez. Did we have any students move back into the traditional program from the alt ed program this year?
Yes, we did. So we actually had, I think there were 3 seniors that graduated early, so they finished up in December. So they got into the program and they were like, this is boring, I want out of here. So they just worked extra hard and got done in December. And then some just got back on track so that they could return to the main campus. And then that's our goal too with the sophomores and with the juniors, is get them on track so they could have a senior year with their classmates. And we have, I think there's 4 juniors that are returning to the main campus this next year.
Great,
That got
thank
back on
you.
track. Yep.
Wonderful.
I'm so glad we're doing this. There's, you know, so many kids that just, they learn differently, they are not into the high school scene, and to be able to offer these kind of programs where they get that piece of paper and it opens up the doors for them and they can get in the working world and, and excel. So I'm glad we're doing this. Thank you for all the hard work.
And keeping it in-house, not having a separate school. They are part of Mountain House High School. They're not going to a separate school. So I really appreciate everyone's hard work in this program. It's great.
I'll just say ditto. Absolutely.
It can certainly be a difficult assignment and challenging for the teachers, but I think, at the end, it really pays off when you see the success. And I'm really grateful for the dedication of those teachers and the students who realize, how much you get out when you put in. And I think it's wonderful that they can still be on the main campus. They don't have to take a bus to some other county program and be separated from what's going on here. It means that they're still part of our community, and just can't say enough what a great program. So, and thank you for your testimonial. Wonderful. Congratulations. Yeah.
Good stuff. Thank you. Moving on to item 10, action items. Consider approval of 2017-2018 intra-district transfer requests.
Move to approve 2017-18 inter-district transfer requests.
Second.
Questions or comments by the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item B, consider approval of 2018-2019 inter-district transfer requests.
Move for approval of the 18-19 inter-district transfer requests.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item C, consider approval to adopt board bylaw 9150 student board member. Staff report?
Yeah, this is the formal approval of a new law that was passed that allows student board members to have a preferential vote and the process, and we're going to do it.
Move to approve board bylaw 9150 student board member.
Just a quick question. So something will be built in to help train the student board member on this? Because this can be kind of challenging for them to make that decision. And
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm hoping that CSBA comes out with something, or I know that we took one board member to the CSBA conference, and that's actually multiple ones. So excellent question. The answer is it should be yes.
Yeah, okay. I just see a need for it.
Yeah.
I think all the board members know the answer to this question, but just to clarify, could you give a brief description of what a preferential vote means?
So a preferential vote means that before the board formally votes, the student can chime in and give an opinion and say what their vote would be. That allows the board and the community to hear a student's perspective. Ultimately, a preferential vote does not count in the formal vote, and it is the 5 board members here that will make the formal decisions.
Thank you. Further questions or comments?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item D, consider approval of Governing Board Resolution 171813 to establish specifications of the election order. Staff report?
With an election this year being an even year, this is one of the formal actions we take to establish the order. It's a formal perfunctory act.
Move to approve governing board resolution 17-18-13 to establish specifications of the election order.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Roll call, please.
Matthew Balzerini.
Aye.
Colin Clements.
Aye.
Sharon Lampel.
Aye.
Ann Goodrich.
Aye.
David Pombo.
Aye. Thank you. Item E, consider approval of agreement between Lammersville Unified School District and Lammersville Teachers Association, July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2019. Staff report?
Yes, this is the formal board approval of the negotiated settlement 2-year deal with the Teachers Association. I want to thank our district team led by Mr. Ted Miller and the LTA team led by Mike Herron and their efforts to come to what I think is a very generous and good agreement for both sides.
Thank you.
I'll move for approval of the agreement between Lammersville Unified School District and Lammersville Teachers Association with a contract running from July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2019.
Second.
Further discussion or comment by the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item F, consider approval of declaration of need for fully qualified educators for the 2018-2019 school year. Staff report?
Yeah, we do this every year as the teacher shortage comes to an end. This allows us to do PIPs and STIPs, which allow us to get people into the classroom who are in the process of getting their teaching credential.
I'll move for approval of the declaration of need for fully qualified educators for the 2018-2019 school year.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item G, consider approval of field repairs at Wickland and Lammersville Elementary Schools as recommended by the Facilities Committee, funded through facility use dollars not to exceed $77,537. Staff report?
Yes, this is, I actually kind of excited about explaining this one. There's a lot of work that went into creating the facilities use manual and the management of our facilities, the collection of fees. Those fees are collected and then used to support improving and supporting our facility needs. Two of the fields we have are in disrepair in terms of needing new turf and improvements in the ground. And so this is representing the fees approved by the board subcommittee on facilities to fix some fields that are used by the community in the school district. In particular, having been a parent of soccer players in this district, those Wickland fields get used mightily. And the Lammersville fields are our oldest, obviously, but also used by, I believe, softball and some of the field sports out there as well. So this will allow us to improve the two facilities.
And I'd like to commend the committee and the board for giving the committee the authority to do this, because it just makes sense to me. And with that, I'll move to approve field repairs at Wickland and Lammersville Elementary Schools as recommended by the Facility Committee, funded through the facility use fee dollars not to exceed $77,537.
Second.
Further discussion by the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item H, consider approval of the proposal from the Mountain House Community Services District for a summer swim program at the Aquatic Center at Mountain House High School. I would just like to make a public comment at this time before we begin board discussion on this item. LUSD has spent a considerable amount of time and effort, both at the staff level and at the committee level, to try to get a rec swim program off the ground. Well over a year ago, LUSD staff reached out to Mountain House Community Services District in an effort to facilitate the implementation of a program. Mountain House Community Services District responded that they would be unable to have something ready for the summer of 2017, but they would come forward with a proposal for 2018. At that time, LUSD contacted numerous outside organizations, including Mountain House Flag Football and several local swim clubs, in an effort to provide a summer swim program for 2017. LUSD was unsuccessful in that endeavor, and although some limited swim time was made available and the pool was available for public on a rental basis, this year, after just about a year, the Mountain House Community Services District came to LUSD staff and asked to start a dialogue, still having no real proposal. They referred it to the Facilities Committee. Ed Pattison and Sarah Ragsdale came to that committee meeting of May 17th with a framework for a possible summer pool program. The committee felt it lacked the necessary specificity to move forward to the LUSD board and agreed to hold a special committee meeting on May 29th so that the Mountain House Community Services District could come back to the Facilities Committee and we would have time to get something on the LUSD board agenda for the May 6th meeting. Angela Lamb and Sarah Ragsdale came to that special Facilities Committee meeting on May 29th and basically had the same framework. The committee directed LUSD staff to come up with a proposal based on those conversations with specifics information required so that LUSD board could have an action item to vote on at the June 6th meeting. LUSD staff completed an action item that is included in tonight's agenda. Staff did that, and I feel that this board and this committee, the facilities committee, have bent over backwards to try to get something moved forward to have a summer swim program. And with that, I will open it up to my fellow board members for comment.
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
When does we know that there's a public comment? Is that an after board comment or before?
Yes, we will. I have one public comment, and I will be calling that person forward at the conclusion of the board discussion.
Mr. President, when would you like the staff report? Because there's additional information. Your choice.
I skipped that step. Staff report?
All right, this afternoon, myself and Associate Superintendent Harrison had a meeting with General Manager Ed Pattison and Nader Sharegi of the CSD. It was a productive conversation, and we discussed the issues specifically to the pool and one other matter related to a non-pool issue. In that conversation, we discussed some of the consternation that had cropped up over the attempt to get this pool program going. It was communicated that the goal from the CSD was to form a partnership and somehow find a way to get a swim program going. It was acknowledged that miscommunication created poor perceptions, and some confusion was an outcrop of that, and that was tied to the misperceptions and about the intent of how things were going. We spent a lot of time talking about history and the development of the board subcommittee on facilities and the effort by board members to build the manual and how the manual was intended to be used in the processes and a procedures approach of this board. In the letter that I presented to you, I was asked to pass it to the board this evening, and in it, essentially, it is tied to the draft proposal for the swim program that was presented to the subcommittee on facilities. It is a response in part to the action item presented, and our action item that the subcommittee put forward tonight is an attempt to address the framework and add specifics in form and function to the request. So the letter presented does express some concerns, in particular about lifeguard ratios and insurance coverage, but I was told that there would be no CSD staff members this evening, so I'm going to give a summation of the finer points of the letter. There are 8 finer points, and again, these are summations, is by no means an attempt to get all the words perfectly correct, but I'm trying to get the gist to the board for its discussion. So the use of joint use was discussed in the meeting, that there is a long-standing 1997 joint use agreement. The term joint use in this letter is more inclined to lean towards a partnership where jointly things are worked on and not specifically tied to that agreement. Number 2, the request in the letter is that this be a pilot program as a partnership with the district. Number 3 and 4 are related to a 50-50 partnership between the CSD and the LUSD. The CSD's 50% share would be tied to the authorization of $30,000 to run a recreation program, and the 50% from the district would be making its pool available. And then there is questions tied to this about the contribution or fee waivers that are attached to the action item associated with what would be, for an outside organization, the cost to the district, or the cost to an outside agency who would rent from the district. There was a request for shared custodial services. In the action item presented, 75% of the custodial services required by the manual, our facilities manual, would have been waived. The lifeguard requirement, they felt was overly burdensome and unnecessary. And our manual states that for every 25 swimmers, there would be one lifeguard. And I believe, and Mr. Harrison can correct me if I'm wrong, that's the Red Cross standard. Number 7, liability coverage. Per our own insurance company, Keenan, they recommended $10 million of coverage tied to a recent litigation over a drowning in the state of California, which came with a large payout to the person related to the death. I guess that was terribly stated, but what I'm trying to say is that was the recommendation of the insurance company. And then finally, for the pool use revenues, they would like to see the use of the fee revenues should be used to offset the CSD cost for running the summer school program. So in all, this is my summation. I'm not speaking for anyone other than my interpretation of the letter. There seems to be some question about the action item. It's put forward by the subcommittee. And I promised Mr. Pattison that I would pass this letter out for the board's discussion. And with that, I will, if there are any questions specific to the details in the action item, I'll defer to Mr. Harrison, who sits on the subcommittee. If not, I'll turn this over to you, Mr. President.
I would just like to make a few clarifying comments before I turn it over to the rest of the board, or invite the rest of the board to join in the conversation. I, as chair of the Facilities Committee, along with the rest of the committee, tried to explain to Mr. Pattison that we felt that the joint use and all the verbiage tied to that was something that would take longer than a meeting or two to work on, and that we felt that waiving the fees, which was their basic ask, and sharing in the revenues, which was what they offered, were the most expedient way to get a summer swim program up and running, and we could work on the details over the next year, assuming that we follow along and do something again next summer. Have you got anything to add, fellow committee member?
Quite a bit. But I think that as it relates to a preamble before board discussion, I think you've correctly articulated, so I have thoughts, but I don't necessarily have an addition to the preamble, if that makes sense, Mr. President.
All right. I am, by the way, just as a side point, I'm very disappointed that the CSD found it unnecessary to send anyone here that could answer questions or explain their position on any of this, but would anyone else like to chime in or ask clarifying questions, or?
I have a point of clarification on procedure. I do not know the answer. I'm asking a question of the board president and district staff. I believe that the matter at hand is the agenda item.
That's correct.
And to the extent this letter from the CSD that was presented today has alternative wishes, guidance, thoughts, whatever, we can use that to inform our vote on the issue at hand, but we are not voting on anything in theirs. We are voting on the proposition in our packet.
No, not necessarily.
I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, we have the latitude to amend what we are going to vote on based on this if we choose to.
Sure. Okay. This and discussion. Whoever makes the motion, that's what the motion is.
So they can.
We don't have to go by what's on the agenda. Whoever makes the motion,
They
that's the
can
motion
amend
before.
the motion, and I think what the CSD has asked, and correct me if I'm wrong, they've asked that we table this and move on. And my thoughts are, we've had meetings, we've had special meetings, and to table it at this point so that it can go back to their board, so that it can come back to this board. The kids will be swimming in the middle of winter if it happens. So my thoughts are, we vote on either the proposal, that the action item, or some variation of that, vote it up, vote it down, whatever we vote, then the CSD can.
Then can I request a couple of minutes? I was trying to listen to you and scan this, and I think it's important. I would like to read this, so can we have a couple of minutes to read?
7 pages, you only need a couple of minutes? You're a far better reader than I am.
Well, no, it's only really 3, because everything else
Three,
is what's
it's
in the.
three
in the
new,
agenda.
3 pages of new information.
I don't know if anything's been
Correct.
changed from that.
This,
Well, there is that.
this isn't the norm, but I believe I have the latitude to call for a 5-minute recess so that we can
Correct.
look at the letter, and then we will continue the discussion. Please bear with us.
Thank you, Mr. President.
My pleasure. Thank you for indulging the board. Who would like to make comments or questions first?
I have a couple of comments. I think most people know I run the pool in my school district, so I do have some knowledge of this kind of work. Thank you. So the Red Cross recommendation is 50 to 1 lifeguards, but never fewer than 2 lifeguards at a time. So you would never, ever have just 1 lifeguard at the pool, minimum of 2, 50 swimmers to 1 lifeguard. I don't see this as a joint use. This is, to me, this looks like the CSD running a program at our pool that they want help to pay for. You know me, I'm blunt and honest, and that's the way I see it. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I run the pool at work. I think there are lots of people in our community that want to use the pool. We want to see our facilities used. It's the way that this is done. They can also have lifeguards do some of the basic custodial work, because that's what we do in the pool that I run. When the lifeguards shut down the pool, they do a cursory cleaning, and then the professional custodians come in at a later time and do a little bit deeper work. So it shouldn't, some of the lifeguards can do some of that work. What else? I don't have a lot in here. The hours of operation in the proposal are absolutely insane. No one is swimming at dinner time. To have a pool open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., you're not going to have swimmers in the pool all of those hours. So I think the CSD needs to think about reducing the number of hours. They also have not thought of all staff. Who is collecting the entry fee? Who is sitting there clicking how many people come through the gate? They need at least 1 or 2 cashiers, because no one wants to work every single day. So there are additional costs that the CSD has not thought of in here. And being the liaison between the CSD and the school board, I am incredibly disappointed that this was never brought up at a CSD meeting. Nobody asked me any questions about it, and that nobody from the CSD is here to answer any of our questions. So I think that's everything I had, Mr. President.
Thank you.
The representatives of the CSD have universally characterized this program as Lammersville, using words like doing a favor to Lammersville Unified School District. And to quote the letter, MHCSD expressed an interest in working with LUSD to make LUSD's summer recreation program a reality. I find it a little bit, it has been a little bit difficult to work as a facilities committee member, to work with Mr. Pattison, because I know that he knows the rules. I know that because he has to deal with the Article 16, Section 6 of the California State Constitution all the time. That's gifts of public funds. And the reality is that it is, I'm going to quote here, it has long been recognized that the gifts prohibition of the Constitution does not apply where the expenditure, while incidentally beneficial to a private recipient, promotes a valid and substantial public purpose, underline, I'm going to add underlines in bold, within the authorized mission of the public agency appropriating the funds. I would invite the public and Mr. Pattison to review California Employees, etc. versus Payne, County of Alameda versus Jansen, Johnston v. Rapp, and a host of other court cases. The question is, a community pool, a community summer recreation program at LUSD, that in and of itself is a violation of the constitutional requirement that we have. Our mandate is not to provide community services. Our mandate is to educate the children of our district, regardless of whether they're in our community or not. That is our mandate. The CSD has a completely different mandate. They provide community services. Oh, I don't know, like a summer recreation program. So my point is, it was literally not possible for the Lammersville Unified School District to provide this program. That would have been a violation of constitutional law. Why? Because that is not our mandate. It is not against our mandate to help, as long as we as a board decide that the funds that we are spending benefit the education of the students of Lammersville Unified. Which means we could not do 100% of this. Realize I'm not an attorney, but my interpretation of the law is we could not be the spearhead. We have asked the CSD numerous times to spearhead this and let us help. That is what we have asked numerous times. Because as long as we can say, well, a piece of the program benefits students, it gets them off the couch, off their cell phones, off of whatever else, and into a pool, into athletics. I mean, we do have the California Department of Education's Healthy Kids Physical Activity mandate. We can say, you know what, getting these kids off of the couch and into the pool swimming, yes, it's fun, but it's also physical activity, and it's something that is within our mandate. But we literally cannot spearhead this program. And what we have been asking the CSD to do, and the reason why the CSD seems to be, or excuse me, Mr. Pattison seems to be mystified that we did not come up with a program. We cannot. And I really wish that he was a little bit more sophisticated in the law of gifts of public funds, because it is very clear. We can pay for a piece if we as a board can determine that it benefits the education of the students of Lammersville. And it's clear that some that some of the people participating in this program would be students of Lammersville. Therefore, we as, in my opinion, granted, there could be four other opinions on this dais, but my opinion is we can spend some money to do this because it gets kids off of the couch and off their cell phones and into a pool and all this kind of stuff, but we literally couldn't spearhead it. So all of this puffery by Pattison about, when he was asked and all this kind of stuff, that assumes it's our program and he's coming in as the hero. The Constitution of the state of California literally denies that position. That's all I have to say for now, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. Further comment?
Yeah, I have a couple things. You guys all know I'm heavily involved with the state level dealing with public education. And can you mind putting that slide up that I put on here? We're funded by the state, and any cost that this would be to the district would come from the general fund, is that right, Alvina? Okay, that would come from the general fund, which is the same fund that pays our teachers and pays for educational programs during the school year. If you look at this slide that I have up here, these are the pension costs that school districts are going to incur. Over a 10-year period, they're going to triple. We need to take that into consideration. We need to be fiscally responsible. Our role is to provide education that's approved by the California Department of Education for our students. I've said this many times. The CSD's role is to provide the community with community programs. As a resident, it frustrates me because we pay, not only do we pay high taxes, but we pay an additional tax assessment specifically for that purpose, parks and recreation. So there should be funds available to provide such a program. We have been running the facility use committee for over 3 years, and the whole purpose of that was because we're the only show in town. We're the only one that has facilities for people to use in the community. We're doing this as a courtesy. That's not our role. Our role is educating students. We don't have the staff to run these kinds of programs. That's left for the municipality to do, the city, in our case, the CSD. That's their job. We have the facility. We're making it available. We set up a fee structure. We've done everything we can. If they want to talk about a discounted rate, I believe that's a conversation that we could have, that most of us would want to have. But I really don't appreciate the tone in which these emails and these letters were written. It sounds as if they're doing us a favor, and they're not. That's not our role. I read the notes from the last facility committee, and if someone can answer the question for me, it appears to me that we have a problem with hiring, retaining custodians. Am I right? Mr. Harrison, can you answer that? I saw in the notes where it said that we had to deny application requests because of lack of custodians availability.
We do have a great deal of additional duties for our custodians to attend to. I don't have exact hours numbers right now, but I do know that some things are denied because of lack of staff.
So,
And that, let me just chime in for clarity for some people. That lack of staff is people not wanting extra hours. We have the staff to do the work in the district. When we have outside groups, we ask our staff, would you like overtime? Would you like extra hours? And they're not required to say yes.
thank you. I don't understand this proposal. It talks about half the share and 50-50 this and sharing insurance, and we have a process. I was a member of the committee for a year, and I know you guys have done a lot of hard work since then. Painstakingly set up these meetings, listened to the community, tried to meet everyone halfway, come up with standardized policies and a process. We have a process. I guess my question is, why are we not using the process? Why are we all of a sudden, the CSD come to us saying, hey, we're going to make up our own thing, and we have a process. Let's just use the process that we have in place. If they want to talk about some of the fees, the committee has that opportunity. The board has given the committee that right where they can have that conversation and come back with a recommendation of the board. And I thank the committee for the work they've done so far. I thank you for the future work that you will do, and I am glad I'm not on that committee anymore.
And I would just like to state for the record that we repeatedly asked for the kind of specifics that trustees Lampel and Balzerini are asking for, and we repeatedly got things like shared and share alike, 50-50, those sorts of things. They also, and nobody has mentioned this yet, they also talk about Measure L, and that we owe the community that pool because of Measure L. And while I agree that public access was talked about during Measure L, I honestly believe that we are doing our duty by offering it to them, by offering them fee waivers and the like to get something off the ground.
In Measure L, we never agreed to violate the Constitution.
No,
of
nor
the
did
state
we
of California.
agree to leave the gates open on the pool.
Okay, I would just like to chime in. My daughter is on the swim team at Mountain House High School and has been for several years. Swimming is important to my family, and no one would like to see her swimming all summer better than me. I also think that swimming is a fantastic physical activity for our students. But I don't see how, as a teacher, as an educator, how a school swimming pool becomes a community swimming pool. I don't see the schools in Tracy offering, I don't see Tracy Unified offering a rec swim program. That swim program is offered by the city of Tracy. And it would be like asking us as a school board to build the Safeway that everyone wants. We all want a Safeway. Gosh darn it, and we have a lot of school buildings that are open all summer, and we can put Safeway there all summer. But you know what? We are not Safeway. So I think people are confusing the fact with what we need here in our town, which is a swim program and after-school activities for our students, and what we want here in our town, which is swimming for kids, which we've been waiting for a long time, and we pay for it with our taxes, but we paid for it to provide swimming at our school. We didn't pay for it for the entire town of Mountain House, because that would be the CSD's job. If the CSD would like to provide swimming lessons and swimming activities after school, when it's not swim team season, or in the summer, then the CSD could use our pool, just like the city of Tracy uses the Tracy Unified pools. And that would be great. And I think that's what we tried to do. We drew up outlines of what they need to wear and how to run the program. But we cannot take on the burden of running the entire town when we are tasked with running the schools. That's mixing up our jobs. And I'm extremely disappointed that the CSD is not here. If I had an issue with the CSD, I would go to the CSD meeting. So why is the CSD not here to answer any of the questions?
By the way, when the district found out that the CSD would be discussing this at their budgeting meeting,
Yes.
our associate superintendent was there to answer their questions.
Of course. And we were notified that that was going to be on
Thank you
their
for
agenda.
doing that, by the way.
So, I mean, does the CSD not think this is important now all of a sudden? Do they not think that the people of Mountain House want a swimming program? Or do they not think that this matters? I just don't understand what the CSD is doing. They seem to think that if they just put their head in the sand, that somehow the school district will run the town. And we are running schools. So they need to get in the game and run the town, because that's what they are elected to do. And we are elected to run the schools. That's all.
So I can't agree with Trustee Goodrich enough. I want to see our kids in the pool. I want us to be able to make something work. But there are so many financial strongholds on the district. Trustee Balzerini showed us one of them, which is the retirement costs that are increasing astronomically over the next few years that we have to build into our budget. We just passed a raise for a whole bunch of our employees who work very hard and deserve that raise. We want to be able to offer raises in the future, moving forward. And I'm not going to beat a point into the ground, but it's not our job to run a summer recreation program or unconstitutional for us to run that. I don't think anyone up here objects to a summer swim program. Well, I think what we're hearing is objecting that the district is expected to pay for a good portion of it.
And I really believe that I myself, and I believe I can speak for the rest of the board, we all want this. We all want a swim
We've been
program.
working on it. We drafted all of those things. We even argued about what the clothing should look like and what the wording should be in the handbook and everything.
And that facilities committee has put a lot of work into this.
And just as a point of clarification, the letter that we just received today, raises an issue with splitting the gate fees with the school district and suggests that the CSD should get all the gate fees when in their proposal, and anyone out there can read it as part of our board agenda because their proposal is in our board agenda. They offered half of the gate originally. Also, when it was brought up at the Facilities Committee, I believe Angel Lamb said that the 25-to-1 ratio was what the Red Cross said, but my point is, they didn't have that specificity they didn't say we are proposing to have one lifeguard per 50 swimmers. They say something very vague like
An appropriate number.
An appropriate number or a safe number. And we can't, maybe they can pass things with words like appropriate numbers and that, but we need numbers, we need facts.
Mr. President, would it be all right, I'm wondering if I'm an audience member, they don't really have in front of them the discussion item that's written into the board agenda item. Would you like me to read that so everyone can hear
Sure,
the specific?
It's
Okay.
part of the board agenda, but you can certainly read it so that people know what we are discussing.
All right, in the background section, it says Mountain House Community Service District has requested the use of the Mountain House High School pool to deliver a summer swim program for the Mountain House community. And the CSD has requested a reduction and/or waiver of facility use fees to deliver the swim program for the summer of 2018. For the action required, it's the recommended approval of the fee reduction for the CSD facilitated summer swim program. So the discussion item, and this has the details. The CSD has allocated $30,000 to run the summer swim program. The CSD has requested reduced and waived fees to run the summer swim during the months of June and July. The request is to waive the $50 per hour fee for pool use for youth groups/governmental agencies. Also requested is a waiver of the $30.93 per hour, 2 hours a day, for restroom cleaning and a reduction of the $30.93 per hour custodial fee to $15.46 for opening and closing the facilities 2 hours per day. The CSD will provide lifeguards at a ratio of 25-to-1, for swimmers to lifeguard as required for this facility's use. That's in the manual. The CSD will also provide daily oversight of the swim program by a recreation lead or other responsible adult, because lifeguards are typically teenagers. The CSD also agrees to share the fees, 1/2, collected from the summer swim program with LUSD to offset costs. The CSD is to provide $10 million in liability insurance for the summer swim program. This one-time waiver will be reviewed by district staff at the end of the summer to evaluate the CSD summer swim program's outcomes. So the financial impact for the CSD facilitated swim program from June 18 to July 27, or 6 weeks, the pool use fee, $50 an hour at 9 hours for 36 days, is approximately $16,200 that would be waived by an affirmative vote by the board on this action item. The custodial restroom use reduction would be the equivalent of approximately $2,227, waived by affirmative vote on this action item. And the custodian to open and close would be an additional waiving of $1,114, which would be a reduced rate because that one would be half of the hourly wage. In terms of the revenue receipt of half of the fees collected by the CSD, that was one of the proposed items in one of the communications that they recommended for this. So I thought, just for the sake of the discussion, to put that out there, that people can hear that in this action item are significant reductions and fee waiving to be voted affirmative or not by this board on this action item.
Yeah, so it says here that the total impact is $19,000. They're asking us to waive, basically, $19,500.
But the piece that's the facility fee waive is how much? My computer's shut off.
$16,200.
So 16,000 of that is the usage fee that if we didn't have a program, we would get
Well,
zero anyway.
no. That is just a point of clarification. Excuse me if I interrupted your point. But that renting it to them or allowing them to use it with a fee waiver precludes us from renting it to anyone else during that time. And the $50 an hour fee is already half of the fair rental value if you or I wanted to rent it for a pool party, for instance, because that's $100 an hour. So, there are a lot of numbers being thrown around here, but bottom line is, it may not cost us the $19,000, but it's going to cost us something because we're not going to be allowed to rent it to anyone else during that time.
And it's also when the pool is being used, it's using a lot, the pool
Incremental chems and
filter
utilities,
is working a lot harder. Things break, you need more chemicals than when the pool is empty. So there are additional costs. It's not just waiving. We charge that fee for a reason.
Right.
It's not just because we want to charge people. We have to pay for things.
Well, and
So
we also have to.
waiving $16,200 in a pool use fee, I just can't see the logic behind it.
Well, let's not forget, we actually have to fill the pool with water, and we all know how much the
Too.
water costs in our town. Just, a minor detail.
I also wanted to, on the third page of this letter we just received today, it says, in response to LUSD's request to provide a summer pool program, MHCSD is ready to execute a joint use agreement with LUSD containing the points above. If LUSD desires to move forward with the joint program, MHCSD will provide LUSD a draft joint use agreement that could be considered for adoption at a special meeting of both boards scheduled as early as possible in June to ensure the full extent of a summer program. My question is, why wasn't a meeting of both boards proposed a long time ago? We could have worked all of this out and been done with it months ago. Why are we always down to the very last minute?
And just as a point of clarification on the joint use proposal, we have a joint use agreement with the CSD, and in that joint use agreement, it explicitly says that they are allowed to use our facilities, but we are allowed to charge them rent. And we are, if this proposal passes, we are waiving all the rent and in fact picking up a chunk of the janitorial services that we will have to pay for. Is there any further discussion by the board? Because we have a couple of public comment cards here, and I'd like to give them a chance to chime in if they choose to before we have a motion and vote.
I'd like to hear.
I guess my last comment would be that, as I've stated, I think that getting kids off the couch, obviously all the people that go in are not Lammersville students, adults, and that is not, there's no way you can argue that an adult going in the pool is within our operational paradigm. But I do believe that getting kids, our students, off of the couch and off of their cell phones and into the pool and exercising does have a benefit on their, learning and achievement. Extracurricular activities do. I think this would. I think that paying some money is reasonable. There's no way we could do all. And it's just a question of each board member decides, is this too much or not enough or whatever.
If I also add, this letter that Sarah Ragsdale submitted, the last thing in the letter, it says, MHCSD is acting as a partner of LUSD in this endeavor, not an outside party attempting to rent the facility and asking for waivers of fees. The intent is that LUSD as a partner provides the pool, and MHCSD as a partner provides a recreation program. It's really not any more complicated than that. I really don't appreciate that tone, first off. But secondly, that's the way the system is set up. We have the facility and we rent it out. They rent it and then they can run whatever program they want. So I don't understand where the partnership she's referring to comes from. It operates the exact same way. If they want, if they want fees waived, that's a conversation we can have. And I believe every single one of us has said that we would be willing to do that. So I don't appreciate the tone of this letter at all.
Are we done discussing as a board? We can further discuss after we get public comment. I believe the name is Forum. Oh, apologize for that. You are Samick?
Samick. You know, I've lived here for a little less than 3 years, and I've come to several school board meetings, several CSD meetings. I gotta say tonight, though, I am disappointed in the comments that have been made from some of the board members, because I think 70% of the discussion was focused on either the tone or why someone didn't show up or how things were being done as opposed to the substance of the actual proposal. I think there's a fair debate or argument to be had whether or not the proposal should be revenue neutral or cost neutral to the school district, which I would actually argue in favor for. I think that should have been pushed back probably to CSD to say, look, we're willing to do it, it's just got to be cost neutral, and see what they come back with. I think that would have been a more fair approach to do so, but I think using sarcasm tonight and using, pounding on the table, I just don't think it's appropriate. I don't think it's kind of the manner in which we elect you guys to represent us or even have cordial discussions between either yourselves or even other boards. So I just want to say the way that this discussion was handled, I think there were some valid points made. One of the points that I originally wanted to make was that I think the hours are ridiculous. I don't think it should be every day. I think it should be, the way that you could kind of squeeze down the cost is have it 12 to 5 and do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and maybe a Saturday or something like that. And that would be more reasonable, and it's a good way to do a trial to see how does it go. You have much less cost at risk, and you can see how the attendance is. Maybe the community doesn't show up and you want to stop it halfway. You haven't allocated a bunch of costs. I think there are more substantive things that could have been discussed and could have been debated. The way that this discussion went, when I watched it, I just got to say I was disappointed in it. So I would urge you guys that not to completely table this forever. I think it is worth saying, look, we don't think that there's enough time or enough meetings that have been had to get this done before mid-June, to have it for June and July. I think that's a very reasonable assessment given all the facts of the issue. But I would suggest you guys, I would say, look, when sometimes people aren't maybe forthcoming and maybe aren't acting in the best manner in which you guys perceive them to be, which I'm not saying whether it's true or not, but I think sometimes the better response is to say, look, we don't think what you guys have put forth is probably going to work, but when can we get together to do something? I think the joint board meeting is probably actually a worthwhile exercise, and maybe try to get both boards to show up to a facility meeting or a committee meeting so it's not at a board meeting. I think there are different ways to go about it that you guys should probably try to extend a hand. If it's rejected, so be it. At least you guys made a try. I just want to express, I was disappointed in kind of some of the comments and some of the tone that was expressed tonight. And I do hope that you guys do work towards, some sort of future proposal that could be meaningful to the community, and especially the kids of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. I would just like to make a clarifying statement. I made a clarifying statement at the beginning of this conversation, and I will reiterate parts of it. The LUSD has been reaching out for more than a year to Mountain House Community Services District in an effort to get them to run a rec program at our pool. We, various staff members reached out at various times. The CSD, MHCSD, said they were going to bring back a proposal that they never brought back. They came to our facilities meeting and gave an outline without specifics, and we asked for specifics. We held a special meeting of the facilities committee so that they would have time to come back with the specifics we asked for. They didn't bring them back, and there's a level of frustration, and I will leave it at that. Yes.
I want to thank you for your comments. I think definitely that frustration is coming through. I do think that it is worthwhile that we come up with some sort of a compromise. I don't think what we have right now is sufficient from the CSD, and I think that's why we're frustrated. I think we were all hoping that the letter that we received from Dr. Nicholas would provide us some more information and work towards that compromise, and when we read the letter, I think we were very frustrated to find that it contained more of the same. But I think that, we have the pool, and we would like to see students using it during the summer. And I think, my thought is that, we need to continue to work towards a better solution, but what we have right now is not the correct solution.
Just a clarifying comment, if I may. You said we would like to see students use it. I would like to see the public use it. I would like to have it opened up to everyone in the community to come and use the pool, not just students. And I think if we approve this proposal, we will have done our due diligence in trying to see that happens
The proposal on the agenda.
on the agenda.
I'm
If-
sorry.
If any of my fellow board members would like to suggest amendments to the proposal, I'm open to that as well.
I don't have a suggestion to the amendment, but I think our community member had an excellent point that we would be willing to look at a cost-neutral proposal, which is not what we have right now.
Well, and I appreciate the comments. I'm a little embarrassed. I'm sorry that you have to see this, but at the same time, come walk a mile in my shoes. This has been ongoing for years and years. We've asked for a joint meeting for years to discuss joint use, and we just don't get it. And then, it feels like a bunch of games, and it's frustrating. And unfortunately, you're seeing the result of years of dancing this dance and holding meetings that people don't show up to, and it's frustrating. But I acknowledge your comments, and I apologize for that.
Yeah, I have to as well. Because yes, managed to get my goat a little bit, just a skosh. My point, the facts of my points in terms of we cannot provide a community service program, that was never in the cards. It's not legal. Though I stand behind those comments, if not the tone that I made them. I've already said that I am supportive of I'm supportive of coming out of pocket a little bit to get our kids off the couch and off their cell phones. And I think we have another public comment.
I have a quick question. Are we able to amend the hours that they are proposing without them here to say if they're willing to do that?
That's what they're
If I may, I think there's two options. There's the option of tabling the action item, which is what is the specific thing being requested or discussed.
Yes.
And directing staff to go to work.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can vote affirmative or negative on this and tell staff to go to work.
Okay, thank you.
I'm happy to be corrected on that, but it seems those are the two options.
And so somebody could propose approving the proposal that's on the board docket with the amendment. And I want to hear more from Trustee Lampel because she has experience in this area and she just rattled it off. The lifeguard thing, if 1 in 20, if 1 in 50 is a safe number, then, you've run it, and so I'm looking at you for guidance. I would be willing to say, okay, I propose an amendment that we reduce that, if that's appropriate. But anyway, if that's what you're saying.
The 1 in 50 is the Red Cross recommendation with never fewer than 2. So if you have 10 kids in the pool, you have to have 2 lifeguards. If you have 20, 30, 40, 50, you have to have a minimum of 2 lifeguards. Minute you get to 51, you need 3.
And your school district is at 1 in 50 or
50.
with a minimum of 2?
Yes.
So
Okay.
at 51, you need 3?
No, I'm sorry, 2. At
101,
At
you would need
101, you
3.
would need 3. I wouldn't recommend 3 lifeguards at 101. I would cut it off at something a little bit lower. That is a lot of bodies in the pool to be looking at,
So 1 in.
And,
But 25 to 1 is our current policy?
yes.
we stick with our policy. I would like to make a suggestion that I appreciate the suggestion of sending this back to staff to come to work with the CSD to come up with something that would not impact us more than X, and I don't know what reasonable X is.
What
Or a reduction in fees no more than X.
What I would be comfortable with, and I'm not sure if the rest of the board or even if staff would be comfortable with that, is voting on this as it reads, and if we vote in the affirmative, giving staff the latitude to tinker with the numbers. If we want to allow the CSD to go 33 to 1 instead of 25 to 1 in this particular program, or if we want to say, you know, we like this, but how about if we cut the hours down to, you know, a smaller window of hours, but within the same framework that is in this, I would be comfortable with that. I'm not sure about the rest of the board.
Well, my only concern is that in this letter that we received tonight, it specifically says the staff report for action item H, proposal from the Mountain House Community Services District for a summer swim program at the Aquatic Center Mountain House School, prepared for the board meeting, contains a number of items inconsistent with the concept proposal and recent direction from the MHCSD board. These inconsistencies need to be corrected for this effort to continue. So it sounds like they're asking us not to move forward on what's on the agenda.
I would, if I may.
Sure.
I would agree with that. I think that's the purpose of the letter. It seems to me there's two things. I'm sensing that staff is getting direction. We're just kind of trying to clarify what that direction is. And the second question is also in that letter is a request for a potential joint board meeting, that if the staff at the CFSD and the LUSD staff put together a proposal that we both work on, that it could come forward and be resolved if this board is interested at a future date to have that joint board meeting, because I have a feeling that's going to be a question that comes back to staff.
Immediately. That's, I mean, yes.
Yeah,
That's the only way we're going to work this out.
I agree.
That would be my recommendation. It would be, let's, staff get to work, and as soon as possible, let's get a joint meeting set up and hammer this out. I don't want our board to be the cause of not moving forward on this program.
I mean, everyone on this board has said we want to see a summer swim program for our community.
And, you know, I'm fine moving in either of those directions. My thought was, if we pass what we have, then they can come back with a counter proposal if they choose to. But if it's the pleasure of the board, we can table this and request that staff work with their staff to come up with a.
Mr. President, isn't what was presented in the packet as the agenda item, isn't that what our understanding of the ask was as clarified with the email?
That was my understanding, is that was what we.
And we even have an email clarifying the certain points, right? Saying, because we said, look, this isn't specific enough. We can't go to our board with some, you know, we want to spend some money or we want to waive some fees. So this proposal, it was our understanding of the proposal as clarified in the email. And now we have a letter saying, yeah, it's not what we want.
So I have a suggestion. We could keep beating a dead horse until it's pulp. Or is anyone interested in making a motion? Because I know I'm not.
I move that we table this and have a joint meeting where we hammer out the specifics and the details and bring it back to the June 18th special meeting and vote on whatever happens next.
Point of clarification, Mr. President.
Yes.
After staff goes to work and there's a specific something written down where everyone has a chance to read and digest.
Exactly.
Okay.
And not a letter at the board meeting that I have to take Evelyn Wood speed reading to get through.
That's my motion.
I apologize, my concentration was diverted.
As a fellow member of the ADD club, I understand.
Is there one more member of public to?
No,
she's not
she
here.
left, right?
So the point of clarification is that a joint board meeting would be set up with the CSD board and the LUSD board after the CSD staff and district staff work on something that's specific, a real proposal that both boards have a chance to read and digest and go into the meeting with a substantive conversation to have.
And the meetings leading up to that will be a combination of staff and board members, correct?
Say that again?
The meetings leading up to a special board meeting would have staff and board members participating.
That would be at the
Two.
pleasure of the board.
Yeah, I would like to see board members, if possible, participate in those conversations.
Trustee Clements, are you willing as a member of the Facilities Committee to,
Absolutely. I want to.
I hate, sorry, sounds to me like I'm being directed to pull out of the dusty closet the ad hoc joint use CSD and LUSD committee. I did bring that up with Mr. Pattison today, and he thought that he could find 2 board members that would fill that role as well.
the only problem I have with tabling this is I'm afraid we're running out of time.
It's June.
You know, we have
Well, it's not.
staff working and potential meetings with staff and board members leading up to a special board meeting between the two. I just feel that summer swim program slipping through our collective fingers on this, and that's my only concern.
That's why I preface it with immediately. And it says, in the event it says, you know, in their letter, they want to meet, they'd want to try and do it in June. So let's fulfill their wish.
So we have a motion to table. Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item H has been tabled. Moving on.
I'm sorry, Mr. President. So it's not a facilities committee, it's an ad hoc committee of both boards that we're going for. Okay.
That is the wish.
I think that, I mean, as far as we're concerned, it should be the members from the facility committee for continuity.
I think those members have the
Yeah.
depth of knowledge.
Right. Yeah, that's, the ad hoc committee should be the members of the, I believe so.
Except Red Cross required, I'm just kidding. Yes, I
I'll
would.
look it up and send you something.
I actually want to continue this. I mean, I want to see this happen, but it's got to happen in a way that works for the district.
Moving on. Item 11, information and discussion items. California School Boards Association Annual Education Conference, 11/29 through 12/1/2018. Staff report?
Yes, the CSBA conference, we're looking for attendees. I see trustee Goodrich, Balzerini, Pombo, Lampel, and Clements. Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking, well, if I'm still on the school board at that time, but it's before the end of the term anyway. I probably, well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I plan on going. How's that?
There you go.
Is that all we needed?
That was it.
All right. Moving on, item B, first read of the 2018-2019 Facilities Handbook. Staff report?
I will defer both B and C to Mr. Harrison.
See, you didn't sit through all that for nothing.
Board Policy 1330 governs community relations, and it is a part of the facilities committee origins. The recent change to the CSEA salary schedule requires amendments to the structure of the facilities handbook. They are minor, but we do need to make some changes because of the CSEA contract. Custodial fees will change from $28.50 an hour to $30.93 per hour. And food services, if used in any capacity out of the handbook, will change from $21.20 per hour to $23.01 per hour.
So, Mr. Harrison, just to confirm, that's currently the only change to the handbook, and then I guess the amendments are going to come later? Is that right?
That is the only change at this time to the handbook. We do need to, the Facilities Committee has talked about other changes that are pending that we are going to make probably in August or September. But in the short term, we need to make these changes so that our fee structure is accurate for people who use our facilities.
Understood. Thank you.
I want to thank you for bringing this forward to keep it updated. Would it be a good idea sometime in the future, rather than having the specific costs in the body and not just on a chart, to write current hourly?
Mm-hmm.
And just might make it easier on you.
If I could,
Yeah.
just from history, if I could speak to that, when we initially did this, we had that conversation, and we thought, if we're going to update the handbook every year anyway, we would just make the change when it comes.
I just thought it
That
might be
was-
easier, it doesn't really matter.
That was the
Yeah.
discussion that we had then.
Yeah, because I know it's easier to change amendments than the body of the document.
And that's where the amendments, we add amendments and then just change the body every year. That was what we, I don't know, I think it's still the practice, right?
Yes.
I know, it's been a while.
Thank you, sir. Item C, first read of the 2018-2019 Wellness Plan.
Board Policy 5030 allows for the Wellness Committee. The Wellness Committee met 4 times this year, and in accordance with the Board Policy 5030, the plan is updated yearly. The Wellness Committee met, as I said, 4 times, and we plan activities around wellness. The major change in addition to the wellness plan moving forward is suicide prevention language that is required by Ed Code and ethically required that we do in our schools. So that was a major change to the wellness plan this year.
I'd like to thank the committee. Thank you very much for making these updates. I can tell you from my service with the legislative committee that there's a lot more coming down the pipe, a lot more unfunded mandates that CSBA has fought, but they're still coming in the area of mental health. So very well, I mean, it's needed, so thank you.
And I would just like to clarify, I do not believe that it is CSBA's stance that those things are unneeded, but that they should not be unfunded.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That is
Thank you.
correct. Thank you.
2 documents that a lot of work has gone into, and I applaud the professionalism in them.
The committees do a lot of work. The Wellness Committee does a lot of work on the document.
Yeah.
It's very helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Item D, promotion and graduation schedule. I asked that this be put on here, and we don't have any, I don't believe we have any, well, I guess we do have a small staff report. So staff report.
So the small staff report is large in stature. This came up a couple board meetings ago. We need to, for the sake of the board and the community, to confirm that this is who we are and this is how we do promotion and graduations. We came up with an idea 2 years ago to do 8th grade promotion and high school graduation on the same evening. There are good and bad with their ideas to that. There are equally good and bad ideas to doing it on separate evenings. I was asked to bring this forward to do one last discussion before we lock something in place where we say this is how we do business. The only specific request we have is the early college pathway programs Delta graduation is on Thursday night. So the request from the high school is to affirmatively keep the high school graduation on Friday night. So the next question would be K or 8th grade promotion on Thursday night or 8th grade promotion on the same night, Friday night. And on both sides of the argument, there's the people having to drive over the hill 2 nights, getting off work early, going through traffic, and the opposite, which is people can't attend 2 things in the same evening. So with that said, Mr. President, I'll pass it back to you.
And my thought is that we get input from the board as to whether we leave it or potentially change it. And if we get consensus from the board that we feel like we want to change it, then we can direct staff to come back with some suggestions of how we change it at a future board meeting.
I need to ask a question. The request to leave the high school graduation on Friday evening was because,
The early college pathway programs, Delta college graduation is on Thursday night. So the kids would have to choose between getting their AA at Delta or being their high school graduation.
that assumes
Stay
that
away
the
from
choice is
Thursday.
Thursday or Friday.
Yeah.
So
So so
Yes.
the real ask is stay away from Thursday night. Okay.
which I guess would still leave the possibility of a Saturday morning graduation, but
Has pros and cons, I acknowledge.
as everyone knows,
But
that has issues
Saturday,
as well.
Saturday morning graduation would not conflict with
This is true.
early career pathway graduation,
Which is on Thursdays.
which is on Thursday.
Yeah, I would like to also attend, I mean, I would be an advocate of moving eighth grade to Thursday, but I would also like to attend the early college graduation. So,
Well, there is the possibility of having early college on Thursday, having eighth grade on Friday, and having high school on Saturday morning.
So move, no, this is not a movement, sorry.
It was just a thought.
yeah,
As a parent, like, even, like, I like the Saturday graduations from high school. I think that, having aunts and uncles and all that, the odds of getting them here, if they're far flung on a Saturday morning, is higher than on a Friday evening. In my opinion, there are no right answers. Whatever we do, a certain contingent of the community is not going to like it.
I would like to hear from our teachers, because our teachers participate in our
And
graduation.
that was going to be my
And
next point, is
It's
that's
big enough of them to come on Friday night,
That's
which
become
I
a
think is
tradition, and-
admirable.
I'm
Fair
not-
enough.
Get them to come the next day on a Saturday morning?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
hadn't really, I apologize. and
I
that
would like
should
it
think of
Saturday
that.
morning, but I'm trying to be considerate of our teachers who have worked their tails off all year long and saying, oh, give one more time.
Well, and it is nice for our community that ours is on Friday night, so that if you have to attend one in Tracy, and those are on Saturday morning, that you can attend both. It gives that flexibility.
You're right, there's no right answer.
Mr. President, one other point to consider is, and this is more of a big district, urban center kind of question, but it is important, I think, to consider. The high school graduation is the marquee event. And we need, and my recommendation is we consider how we set this up, that is the shining light on the top of the hill. Other things are steps along the way. And that is my recommendation.
Sounded more like a statement than a recommendation, but
I apologize for my enthusiasm.
So what would the beacon on the hill look like?
a Friday night, I'm guessing.
That's what I'm thinking.
Well, my thought is, it's very elegant doing it in the evening. In the morning, it can be very, very hot, depending.
At night, it can be really, really cold.
Yes, it can. But I was just noticing that when we were there in the evening and the choir was singing and the sun was setting, and it's just so sort of dramatic. I don't know.
Is there a way to have the high school be Thursday, Friday, and not have two things going on in the same evening?
There are other ways to do it. I mean, we could have eighth grade graduations on Wednesday.
I'm asking if that's a possibility. I don't.
On Saturday morning, inside, when there's no sun outside.
I guess my real question is there consensus of the board to direct staff to bring back possible alternatives to leaving it? Or is the consensus of the board, it's not perfect, but we like the Friday night for everyone option well enough to leave it alone?
My concern is that as we grow and we have more and more and more schools and people are racing around the community trying to get from one place to another, that the Friday night shuffle is going to be a little more dangerous.
I want to try to find a way not to have the promotion and graduation on the same day. I would really like to try to figure that out. Although there's downsides to that, we got to come on Wednesday and then Friday. I don't know.
Well, it sounds like two board members would like to explore possibilities.
But I do want to hear from the teachers.
Yeah.
Is it possible to get some opinions from the teachers?
Opinions from teachers? No.
The next promotion ceremony is a little less than a year away, so, but we would need very quickly in the school year to get the dates out. So, from experience, I can say that asking teachers to come in on a Saturday, once the school year's over, is a big ask.
So maybe we should do the high school graduation ceremony in January.
Well, just thinking that through, the 8th grade promotion requires fewer teachers than the high school ceremony. So if we left the high school ceremony on a Friday night,
And Saturday.
and then Saturday we did the promotion, there would be fewer teachers involved. And the 8th grade teacher who organizes promotion gets a stipend. in the
They already
contract.
do.
That's what I'm saying, so they get a stipend, so coming in on an extra day is part of their stipend.
Yeah. And remember, we have to start to think about changing up the way we do it anyway, because there's 5 of us and there's going to be 6 schools next year.
There you go.
I move that trustee Lampel is in 2 places at once.
Okay, I'll work on that.
Is there enough interest in the board that we request that staff bring back some possible alternatives at,
I have a question.
yes?
How many complaints are we getting on this from the community?
I have not received any, but I would guess that the grocery store is probably the place that you guys would hear the most feedback.
Or Facebook. Facebook, yes.
Anyway, I'm not sure about the rest of the board. I have received some complaints over the years about it. I fully expect that whatever we decide,
Absolutely.
I will hear some complaints. If we move any of the promotions or graduations to Saturdays, you're screwing up our weekend. If we move them to a Wednesday night, why should kids go to school? They graduated already on Thursday and Friday because they'd still be required to go to school on those days.
Because it's not a graduation.
Well, it's
It's
a
a
promotion.
promotion.
Right. But they would still be required to attend school on those days after they've promoted. So
And
we
if
are,
we leave it alone, we will continue to
Yes.
get comments on that as well.
so
But I'm thinking, are the comments, are you hearing an overwhelming number of comments? I'm not.
not an overwhelming number.
I'd like to keep it the same. I think we've already built a tradition. People already kind of expect it. I don't think there's issues big enough for us to even to change it. I mean,
Yeah, I don't want to ask our teachers to come in on Saturday after school's out. I wouldn't mind going to a Saturday graduation, but I'm trying to think of the teachers.
Well, if we don't move it from Friday, then you're free to go to Saturday graduations.
We'll find one for you.
Yeah, I mean, trustee Balzerini suggested leaving it alone. I'm okay with leaving it alone for another year and see if there's a problem where we have to move it.
So then it's up to you.
I get to be the tiebreaker. I think I'm fine with leaving it as it is for now, and we will revisit it in the future if it requires revisiting. All right, moving on. Item E, intra-district transfer procedures. Staff report?
I asked Mr. Harrison to speak to this. We are old hats at opening new schools. New community members are not, so I thought it would be important for Mr. Harrison to explain the processes and procedures behind inter-district transfers, intra-district transfers, and so that the board is aware and the community is aware that this is how we do things, and if you live in a certain village, this is how you go to school.
Board President Pombo, trustees, Dr. Nicholas. Intradistrict transfers are governed by BPAR 5116. Intra-district transfer requests are made between January 1 and May 25th. Any requests made after May 25th are addressed when staff get back from summer break, but they are addressed. As we open our new school, Hanson Elementary School, I think it's important that we address intra-district transfers, and they come in two forms. They come in the form of, I am a Hanson student family, and I want to stay at the school I'm currently at because I have friends, and I don't want to go to Hanson, even though the master plan of the community is that you go to your village school and you walk to school, et cetera. And then when we also have intra-district transfers of students that, well, I go to school B and I want to go to school A because they have a better GATE program, or my friends go there, or whatever the case may be. So as Hanson opens, we're going to be dealing with both types. The Hanson folks that want to stay at the school they are currently attending, and those that want to go to Hanson from other schools as an intra-district transfer. Now, we have intra-district transfers throughout our district all the time, from Altamont to Wickland to Altamont to Cuesta to Bethany, et cetera, okay? So I wanted to give you some examples of historically transfers that we approve. We approve transfers that childcare resides in the area of the school, whether by a family member or a business. Child is going to be an 8th grader, has matriculated to 8th grade, and let's say a Hanson student's been in the neighborhood for 3 years, and that student is now going to be an 8th grader next year. Well, our past practice is that we allow that student to continue at that same school because they're going to matriculate from 8th grade on to high school, and it's not fair to yank them away at that time and take them to Hanson. Another example is a court order or IEP that forces placement at a certain school, whether it's a divorce or an agreement of some kind, or a specialized program for special ed. That would require a student who may be living in the Hanson area to stay at another school. Okay? Some reasons that do not qualify that do come across my desk and that we are going to deny is, I don't like the school my kid is in, I want my kid to go to fill in the blank here at this school. That is not a reason. My child's baseball team, I'll go to this school, I want my child with the baseball team over at that school. Those are not valid reasons to do an intra-district transfer. Those would be denied. So as we move on to moving the Hanson students into the Hanson school, we are going to have appeals. We're going to have parents that don't want to go and don't have valid cause not to go. So I wanted to make sure that we kind of reviewed our processes.
I recognize it's a balancing act.
Yes.
We get the intra-district transfer requests every meeting, and I know a lot of work goes into that by staff. So thank you for being as accommodating as you can.
Mm-hmm.
But we spent a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of work to get that school built. They're going to go to that school.
And sir, it's a space issue. It truly is a space issue. We are, even though those kids are going to Hanson, we're still pretty packed tight. So, any questions?
And we also are governed by a master plan that calls for them to be able to walk to school, so.
Nobody does.
Hey, that's not the point.
I know.
Yeah, I would echo Trustee Balzerina. Thank you. I would thank the district staff very much. This is a very very small needle eye to thread in terms of coming to the right answer. And no matter what you do, you know, the parent that wants to keep their child in the school that they started believes that kids should be able to do that, and not everybody can. You open a new school, somebody's going to have to move, and you know. So thank you very much. I know it's a difficult thing to do.
Well, I have a good team.
Well, and if you would do me a favor, pass on to staff that I really do appreciate the detail. I mean, it's a small spreadsheet, but there's a lot of detail.
Yes.
And if there's something denied, they articulate it very well. So thank you, I appreciate
That
that.
is Ms. Lanza. She does a great job.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Moving on to item 12, calendar. Thursday, June 7th is the SJCOE LUSD Employees of the Year Dinner.
Who else going to that? Are we all? Okay, cool.
Is anybody interested in meeting here at the DO like at 5:15 and riding over? All right.
5:15?
I think that gives us enough time.
I will,
We're going with the traffic to get there.
yeah, I will try to make it here by 5:15, but if I'm running late to get over the Altamont Pass, I'll text you and you can just go on without me.
Roberts Road Way, or Howard Road.
Okay, I'll be a passenger.
All right, so whoever wants to meet at 5:15 tomorrow evening can meet us here and we'll figure it out. Thank you. Monday, June 18th is a special board meeting at 6:30. And I'm guessing we have at least 3 of us that are able to make that meeting.
I'll be there.
All right.
Yep.
And Wednesday, June 20th is our next governing board meeting. And it would be nice if we can revive the summer swim program at that meeting and have something to vote on. I would very much like that.
Or the special.
Or I would be fine with the special
I
as well.
would too. I would too.
All right, in just a moment, we will be adjourning to closed session where we will discuss negotiation matters as permitted, employee discipline, dismissal, release, complaint, public employee employment, coordination of instruction, assessment, and technology integration, public employee appointment, employment, education superintendent, conference with real property negotiators.
Move to adjourn to closed session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We are now adjourned to closed session, and thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. We are returning to open session at 10:30. Public Employee Employment Coordinator of Instruction Assessment and Technology Integration. The board took action on a motion by trustee Matt Balzerini and seconded by trustee Ann Goodrich, approving the partial leave of absence for the 2018-2019 school year for a coordinator of instruction and technology integration by the following vote. 5 ayes, no nays.
A move for adjournment?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are now adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.